Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We are gathered here today on the traditional territory of the signatories of Treaty 6 and acknowledge the Métis people who share a deep connection to this land. My name is Parmeet Singh Bopari, and I am the Alberta NDP Critic for Service Alberta and Consumer Protection. I am joined today by my colleague Laurie Sigurdsson, Critic for Seniors Issues, Continuing Care and Home Care. And as you can see, we have with us representatives of the Alberta Life Lease Protection Safety, and I am looking forward to introducing one of them to you in just a few minutes. Life leases were once seen as a safe way for Albertans entering into their senior years to ease their way into retirement, free from the burdens of home ownership while maintaining financial security. They were offered to prospective tenants as an opportunity to live rent-free, with only a nominal monthly operating fee when they gave the provider an interest-free loan, usually between $300,000 to $400,000. They believed that the loan would be held in trust, and the agreement was that they would get that money back within 90 days of vacating their unit. But in the very fine print that even lawyers reviewing the agreements did not catch, a clause was added that gave the operator in the case Christenson Group of Companies, or CGC, an infinite amount of time to pay back the loans. As of today, over $201 million is owed to more than 400 former residents, and it's taking on average 2 to 3 years, not 90 days, for them to get their loans repaid. Victims of this scam called on their government ministers to do something about this and were assured that action would happen this spring. But the legislation that the UCP introduced falls far short of the needs of former residents or their families who are stuck waiting for their money to be returned. Now I'm going to turn things over to the President of the Alberta Life Lease Protection Safety, Doling, to tell you a little about why they formed their society.
Thanks, Parmeet, for giving us this opportunity to speak to you and those about our experiences that we have had with life leases, in particular, our experience with Christenson Group of Companies. We are excited that when we saw that the Premier included life leases in her mandate letter to Minister Nally, that we were eager and willing to be a big part of that consultation process, as families that have been victimized by the lack of legislation or regulations around the process to begin with. But when we saw the proposed legislation, we were just deeply disappointed. The legislation does not come close to meeting our needs, which is no surprise, because we were not a significant part of the consultation process. What they tabled satisfies the interests of the operators of the life leases and fails to protect vulnerable seniors. Operators are allowed to use the entrance fees for whatever they like, without regard for the tenants when they move out, which means that they continue to build new buildings and with our loans, while not paying out the loans when tenants moved out. The person who was first in line for repayment is still waiting nearly 3 years for their funds to be returned, while Christenson continued on to build new buildings. We know that that is not right. The fines proposed in the legislation are simply inappropriate. What is a $300,000 fine to a company that already owes over $201 million? Companies that market products to seniors must be trained and regulated on how they deal with them. Seniors are trusting people, and in so many cases, their trust was broken. We've heard time and again that salespeople will say whatever it takes to make the deal, while glossing over the true important details. Seniors are not stupid, but many believe in the good people. That's part of who they are. It's a shame that life lease operators and others prey upon their goodwill. The government has ability to step in now and make things right. they have a choice to make. Either they can protect the interests of profit-making operators, or they can protect the Albertans who elected them. It's that simple. We have always been willing to share our experiences with the government so that they would be able to build the legislation that we and so many other families need. We hope the UCP accepts our offer and we will make this legislation stronger. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Now I would like to invite the Vice President of ALLPS, Jim Carey, to read the story of one family that suffered the consequences of the life lease fiasco.
Thanks, Parmeet. Well, thank you for this opportunity. This is just one of well over 100 stories that you will find published on our Facebook group, and you can access it through the Alberta Life Lease Protection Society Facebook as well. And we chose this one because it is just typical and indicative of what so many families, and I want to stress families, have been dealing with. This is their letter. We believed in Christenson Development Limited's life lease model that provided security in my investment and a worry-free living arrangement. We were being told that the title, we were told being on the title would provide us with security. This past year of uncertainty has been very stressful on our whole family, especially our parents. At ages 86 and 90, this is wrong. This is the time in life to relax and enjoy the fruits of your hard work, knowing you're leaving something concrete to your kids and grandkids. Christenson has taken that away from our parents and countless other seniors in their life lease deals. In failing to comply with their part of the deal, they have not only robbed the leaseholders of their capital, but instead they get to leave their kids and grandkids with the problems of fighting for what's left of their estate. Christenson has done a huge disservice to all their elderly clients, from untimely financial information uncertainty to their excuse letters sent to residents. I've spoken to a number of seniors in the building who are worried sick about not knowing what's going on. Christenson has done a very good job of sowing uncertainty and confusion and creating terrible and unnecessary stress to people in their golden years. It is very sad. I don't think any of us want their parents to go through this again, Greg Christenson. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. That's both heartbreaking and infuriating. The UCP has failed these folks. They lied to them. When it comes to take decisive action that will impact close friends, they will say anything but will do nothing. In typical UCP style, they have broken another promise to Albertans, but it's not too late. The Alberta NDP will propose a number of amendments to the life lease bill that has been proposed, including making the legislation retroactive so that families that have been waiting for years to get the money that they are owed will get it within the 90 days that was promised to them. Next, we will demand that future loans be placed in a trust so that they cannot be used for general revenues for the corporation. This way, residents and their investment will be protected. Finally, we will propose that the 180-day period for operators to release the entrance fee or loan is far too long and should be reduced to 90 days as originally agreed. Many of the residents are nearing the end of their lives when they move out of these units and need the funds to defray the substantial cost of the continuing care they need. Daniel Smith and the UCP have a responsibility to take care of our seniors, folks who have contributed to the building of Alberta. These should be celebrated and comforted in their final years, not victimized by swindlers out of their life savings. I would like to thank you and thank you all of you, and we are happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Parmeet, Karen, and Jim. We'll start off with questions in the room if there are any.
Hello. Oh, is this, we're good? Okay. Karen or Jim, can you maybe just say specifically what you're asking the government to do at this point with Bill 12? What would you like to see specifically?
Sure. Well, At this point, Bill 12 was basically created without the input of the most important people, who are the seniors that are affected by life lease situations. The lack of consultation and unwillingness to meet with us after many attempts shows that their regard is more towards the operators as opposed to the seniors, who this should be protecting. So with Bill 12, we would like to see that it is rewritten or reviewed before it can ever get back to the table and move to royal assent. There are many loopholes within the legislation as it is. The very fact that it is an amendment under the Consumer Protection Act and not a robust life lease legislation as it should, like other provinces have, really shows the lack of understanding that the seriousness of this life lease legislation could cause.
Have you had any discussions with the government recently about this? I know there was roundtables sort of in the fall, but anything else since the legislation was introduced?
No. So the roundtables in the fall were very limited to anybody. I know that it was spoken to by Dale Nally that he had 180 people involved. Most of those were his staff and other UCP government. In reality, we did a poll among our group to see how many actually did attend, and I don't have the numbers handy right now. However, it was overwhelmingly no, they did not attend, either because they didn't know about it or they didn't have an opportunity because they were full. This was just the tip of the iceberg. We didn't even really know ourselves the true gravity of what all of this was concerning. As a group, we grew up to 380 people, and as we started doing this, we did our own investigations. We created our own recommendations. We were offered an opportunity in December of 2023 to continue the process with the government. We gladly accepted. At that point in time, our other touch points to them remained unanswered. We did not get a reply to the many times that we asked to be involved, until we were asked to a meeting on March 14th. At that meeting, we were truly under the impression that we were about to be finally engaged in the consultation. Unknown to us, we were told that the life lease legislation had already been written. We didn't know when it was going to be tabled, however. That being said, we continued to press the fact that we needed to have some more input into this legislation. An email was again sent out to Minister Nally's office on March 17th, again asking that we be involved in further discussions with this. And then it was the morning of March 18th, we received a call from media to inform us that it was being tabled that afternoon, unknown to us.
Thanks, Karen. We're going to go to questions on Zoom. Just a reminder for everyone on Zoom, it's the raise hand function. And for those on the phone, it's *9 to get into the question queue. It's going to be one question and follow-up. Is there any questions online? I don't see any just now. And Madeline, did you have another question?
So just since the legislation was tabled, have you met with Dale Nally at all? Any plans to meet with the government?
No, we were not. As Karen said, Karen and I both went at the request to have a meeting on the 14th in the legislature building it. And we also had asked to meet with Minister Nixon, who was unable to attend that day. One of his members, assistants came, where Karen relayed that we were told the legislation had been written. We could not be told what was in the legislation. Mr. Nally did indicate that in all likelihood there would be no provision for security, that there was potential in the future provision to add a surety bond, but he informed us no such instrument exists. So there is no security. And as I've said to a lot of people, Madeline, if would you or would I or anyone else say to their parents, take your life savings, give it to me for your $350,000, and I promise I'll pay it back? Would anybody in this room think that's acceptable? And yet that's what the legislation says. There is no protection in there. It's the operator can do what they wish. So again, Karen reached back out on the 17th, because when we left the meeting, the last thing Minister Nally said is, we want to work with you. We're here to work with you. He said to me, the 400 seniors, of which 165 plus now are been waiting for up to 3 years to be paid, you people are front of mind. I think about you all the time. And the next day, out comes the legislation. And what's in it? A little bit of window dressing here and there. He actually, what they put forward is worse than what's in the Christenson contract. In the Christenson contract, it says you have 90 days termination of notice. This says it's half a year. These are people, what happens when it's termination of notice? Why is there a terminate notice? There's two things. You've died, and someone wants to settle your estate, or you're no longer medically able to stay in the building. You have to go to extended care. But all your money's tied up in this life lease. So what's your option? We know people that are applying for assisted housing that are in $500,000 units. And they're at the end of their life applying for assisted housing because they can't get any money out. And what does the legislation do to help them? What does the legislation do to help the thing being repeated in the future? Nothing. We were told this legislation got the consultation of the operators, and it has to be fair and balanced. Well, is it fair and balanced?
And then just maybe for Parmeet, has there been any legal analysis done about whether you can make the legislation or the suggestion of an amendment to make it retroactive? Do you have any sense of how that would work?
Actually, our team is working on it. Once we find out, then we'll let you know. We'll let everyone know. Yeah.
Okay, seeing no further questions, unless you have one more. You're good? Okay, that means that will be the end of this press conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks all of you. Thank you.